Call the BZA meeting to order. Ask everyone to silence your cell phones. We stand for pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Sure. Don Sutton,
Here.
Larry Harmon, Jason Acevedo,
Here.
Brad Cook,
Here.
Michelle Cook, Ken Moffitt,
Here.
Jessica Kinsley, here.
Okay. Want to make sure everyone that intends to give testimony that you did sign in this evening. And we'll ask to verify the meeting was advertised.
Is it the face?
It's in the back here.
Oh, is it the back? Are we doing, is this on Facebook also? Okay, yes, and, let's see, it was posted on the Township Facebook site, and, also is on the Township website.
Thank you. First item of business is to approve the BZA meeting minutes from April 16th, 2005. That board should have a chance to review the minutes. So do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the April 16, 2025 meeting.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Acevedo,
Yes.
Mr. Moffitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Cook? Yes. Mr. Sutton?
Yes. Thank you. Next item of business, we have an applicant BZA 25-004 filed by David Moss, 4206 Curve Road, Delaware, Ohio, 43015. The applicant has requested a variance for the side yard setback for accessory building. The parcel in question is 988 Lackey Old State Road, Delaware, Ohio, 43015, 418-2400-111-9000. The parcel is plus or minus 1¼ acres west of Lackey Old State Road, south of Curve Road. Is any clerk read the exhibits into the record?
Okay, the exhibit is it just this here? Or is
Yes,
it
it's
just different? Okay. Yeah, exhibit 1 is the application. Exhibit 2 is the legal description. Exhibit 3 is the plot plan. Exhibit 4 is the hearing notice and online advertisements. Exhibit 5 is the buffer map and address list. Exhibit 6 is the adjacent property letter, applicant letter, and certificate of mailing. Exhibit 7 is the meeting agenda. And the last exhibit is Exhibit 8, zoning inspector review.
Thank you. And for the board on exhibit 1, the zoning district we're looking at tonight is in FR1. We're looking at a side yard setback. Side yard setbacks. Section 7.06. Side yard setback accepted as modified by the board. For the zoning appeal, no building or structure shall be located closer than 25 feet to any side. And that's why we're here tonight, is to hear the application for an area variance in section 32 attached to number 2, area variances. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall have the power to authorize in specific cases variances that relate solely to the area requirements from the provision of this resolution that will not be contrary to the public interest. Such area variances shall be granted only in a case of special conditions involving physical conditions of the land, whereby strict application of such provision or requirements would resolve practical difficulties that would deprive the owner of the beneficial use of the land and buildings involved. No variance from the strict application of any provision of this resolution shall be granted by the board unless it finds that, based upon the relevant facts and circumstances, that the applicant has established a preponderance of evidence that the applicant has encountered practical difficulties that are strict applications of the area zoning requirements, e.g. frontage, setback is inequitable. In considering an application for area variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall observe the spirit of the resolution and weigh competing interests of the applicant and the community. Factors to be considered weighed in determining whether the applicant has encountered practical difficulties include but are not limited to whether the property will yield reasonable return or whether there can be a beneficial use of the property without variance. B, whether the variance is substantial. C, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether the adjoining property or comprehensive plan of the community would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. D, whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. E, whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions. F, whether the owner's predicament feasibly can be alleviated through some method other than variance, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by the variance. And considering this, citation from Duncan versus Middlefield, 1986, 23, Ohio State 3D 83 is what we'll be considering here tonight. And that case basically determined the other items that I just read, 1 through 7, and that's what our applicant has included in the application that we're going to hear tonight. So I ask the board to make sure that you're considering those 7 factors as we hear the applicant case before us. Just want to ask our applicant come forward and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your application.
Hi, I'm David Moss. I have my wife Dana and my daughter Bailey and future son-in-law.
Don, Mr. Zip, have they been sworn in yet?
It's not. Please raise your right hand and be sworn in by the court reporter.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David DeMoss, my wife Tana DeMoss, my daughter Bailey DeMoss, and future son-in-law Noah Denzel. We own the lot that's the subject of the meeting tonight. We're asking for a variance of setback to place a building garage kind of blocks. There's a substation directly behind the property, and we want to slide that it's a freestanding garage to the south, 15 feet or so.
I think we were 13 feet.
13 feet to the south. As you look out the back of the house, you see the unsightly substation. And we're sliding it there, and that, among other reasons that Jeff can go over, is the primary reason we're here tonight. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I can kind of fill you in on some of the
specifics.
You can raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So, looking at this lot, there's, like you said, we want to try to move the barn over to help kind of shed that substation. Originally we were hoping to keep it within the 25 feet, but this particular lot, it may be tough to tell on the picture, but there's a huge ravine in that house in the middle of it. So the topography is a little bit challenging. There's no sewer there, so it's going to be on septic, so
the health department, deal, you got your primary and then there has to be the room for a secondary field. So trying to fit the primary and the secondary all in with the topography of the existing lot, we were kind of running out of space to fit this accessory building, on the lot to keep this, I think we have to be 8 feet off the edge of the field.
And that's a quick question. So in exhibit 5, which lot is it? Is it this one right here?
That one, yep. So that's the AEP substation. So we're talking about kind of south corner.
Oh, excuse me, sir, could you give your name and address, please, for the record?
Yeah, Jeff Yates, YACES, 1604 Dickerson Place, Delaware, 43015. So kind of I thought that the rear yard setbacks are 15 feet, the side yard is 25 feet. I think we were 15 and a half feet off the rear yard. So didn't feel it was a huge impact to slide it over. It's moving it closer to that AEP driveway. So there's really not a neighbor, household, yard kind of being affected there. And it just allowed a lot of things to kind of fall into place, from septic to the screening that the DeMosses are trying to achieve over that substation.
Is the house on the property currently?
No, permit should be ready this week. So we were hoping to try to do the detached garage and the house all at the same time.
So we'll just go through these 7 questions. You can either just read what, either one of you can read what is on your application, or if you want to add to it. These are the Duncan versus Middlefield questions that I mentioned earlier that the board needs to consider making this decision. So first is that the request for variance will not merely serve as a convenience to the applicant, but is necessary to alleviate demonstrable undue hardship and difficulties.
Yeah, I think the hardships are that substation that's right in the backyard, and trying to make the lot usable, desirable. So having that barn in place to help shelter that, and then just the complications with trying to put the septic along the topography.
And as you mentioned, a ravine earlier, is that on the north side of the property?
Yeah, do you have the site plan there? So if you look in, so it kind of runs right through here, these retaining walls, and it goes on kind of that way. So all this grade drops here down this low point, drops to 50.
Okay. Number 2, the special conditions circumstances exist or failure to the land or the structure involved in which are not applicable to other land or structures in the same zoning district.
And I don't remember what I put on the application there.
You've got this lot is surrounded on 2 sides by an AEP district.
So that's, if you look, you can see they're kind of T-shaped on there, which.
Number 3, that a literal interpretation of the provisions of the zoning resolution would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under terms of the zoning resolution.
On an acre plus lot, I think a lot of people kind of in the country living, would like, a house with an outbuilding, kind of this ravine, situation in the septic, really kind of limits the footprint to pull all that off. So, having the variance kind of buys a little bit more square footage, if you will, on the lot to make that happen.
That special conditions, land circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant.
Yeah, I can't remember what it wrote. I should have brought a copy of that.
You've got, we did not build a distribution station or create the drawing path.
Drainage, yeah.
Okay.
And I think, when the Mosses purchased this lot, that distribution station was not there. at the time. So that went up, cleared the lot, and there's a ravine, and kind of all this stuff started falling into place as we're working on site development.
It's if you want.
Yeah.
It's right here, right
Yep.
Number 5, that granting the variance request will not occur on the applicant. Any special privileges that is designed by the zoning resolution of other lands or structures in the same zoning district.
Yeah, I don't think we feel there's any special privileges.
Just realized I backed up reverse ordered my questions, so didn't actually ask you the number.
Yes.
Whether the property in question would yield a reasonable return, or whether there could be a beneficial use of the property without the variance.
Without the variance, it leaves that distribution station a lot more visible to the backyard area of this lot.
So whether the variance is substantial,
We didn't feel it was.
whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or adjoining properties suffer substantial detriment.
We don't feel there'd be any detriment, and then also, I guess where the other homes are to the north, if anything, shifting this accessory garage to the south, shifting it further away from the homes to the north.
Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services.
It shouldn't affect it at all.
Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions.
It was 9 years ago, you could see, I don't think, you were thinking of the side yard setbacks, accessory buildings when you purchased it.
Don, I didn't hear your question there. What was it?
If you purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restrictions,
Yes, I did. Obviously, we didn't have building plans put together at that point. And back then, it was so thick, you couldn't really see that where the ravine was or anything like that. So by opening the lot up a little bit now, we can see that, hey, this is the desired outcome we had. That's why we're requesting the variance.
whether the problem can be solved by some other manner other than granting a variance.
The only other thing, you could make that outbuilding smaller, but it's kind of defeating the purpose of what we're trying to do with screening the distribution station, so.
Whether the variance preserves the spirit and intent of the zoning requirements, and whether substantial justice would be done by granting the variance.
We feel that's all true.
Questions from the board?
Do you have any idea how far from the property line it is to the service road to the substation? And
I think it's about 25 feet.
Is there any thought of turning the building, going instead of the 50, go to the 28? Do the 50 in the,
Well, yeah, we kind of thought about that, so if we turn the building, rotate it at 90 degrees, and have the garage doors either facing the north or the south. If they face the north, the concrete drive would end up being over top of the septic fields, which we couldn't do. And if we turn to put the garage doors facing south, we'd only have, about the 25 feet to the property line to kind of make that turn into the garage. Which just wasn't a lot of room, and to put the driveway right on the property line.
and the other thing, I don't know if you answered, you said that the use of the property, if you do not receive the variance. Is there still use to the property without the variance?
You could still have a single family resident there. The issue is you walk out the driveway or walk out in the backyard, and all you see are massive power distribution. And it's just unsightly and concerning. I think we all kind of feel that the value of the property would be greatly reduced. That's kind of right in our face. So having this accessory building there shelters all that.
And there's no moving the building to the west? And then just curving the driveway to reduce, because it is a substantial variance?
So if you see where those septic fields are, where they kind of hook down around, you're moving that the cable you move to the west because we're at the rear yard setback line. So moving to the east, we just start pulling into where that septic field hooks. And it would make the situation, I think, even worse. We have to push it closer to the property line, the south property line. But if you kind of see how those fields are kind of like J-shaped, we've got that accessory building kind of placed right in the sweet spot.
Well, that's what I was saying, moving toward going, would that be north?
North would be towards the septic fields. Yeah, but we're right, the back corner of that barn is right at the distance we need to be for the health department guidelines off of that septic field.
Okay.
And then that septic field, so there, you can see the two, and, hey, it'd be great if we could move that one septic field closer to the second, but in between those two, where you see that test hole 21, that's where the secondary field, we have to provide space. The secondary field, so one secondary field goes there, and the other one goes to the north of the northernmost field that you see in the site line. And that's been a health department requirement for a while. Say this primary field goes bad, we need to show that there's room on the lot to hook up to a secondary new field. And that's why we can't move that one any closer.
There's no city water provided in this city.
There is city water, there's Delco water, but there's no,
No
there's no city sewer.
No city sewer.
Yeah, and the way the septics work, they really have to follow the topography. So they can't be too much on a hill where they'll drain all on one side, so we have to, that's kind of why they hook and curve, because we had to go out and shoot the elevations like every 8 feet and follow what the topography is. So if you were to go look at site, you see a bunch of pink flags, and that follows the center line of the septic field based on topography. And there's spacing, how much you have to be from the primary to the secondary. And so all that was done with a septic designer, submitted to Delaware County Health Department. They approved the septic permit to do what we're talking about here.
Other questions? Are there concerns from any neighbors or attendants? If you could, and please one in. Go ahead. You can stay right there. Okay. I did. Good evening, I'm John McCarthy. Could you state your name? I'm John McCarthy. I live at 944 Blackfield State Road, property next door. I guess my concern and reason for being here tonight is we bought our house in the end of 2017. Assuming the reason it was for sale is because they were building that substation behind us. We had no idea that that was going to be there. We purchased the house, and my primary concern is when it rains, and I think it's been stated in the information that's provided here, but there's just massive water that comes off the field and it drains right through there. So I guess my ask and reason for being here is I'm not necessarily opposed to what's being asked, but make sure that all the runoff and everything's being addressed, because we do have such issues with the runoff. I mean, if you look at our back corner lot, a couple of examples, our fence, we have a 3-row fence out there, and the bottom entire rail was just covered by soil that came off the field. If you look at the pin that's in that corner of the lot, it's down probably 8 inches or so, buried under soil. So again, not opposed to what's being asked, I just want to make sure that all the runoff and everything's being addressed, especially if you've got a large building going in.
Do you mind showing us on here which lot is yours? Sorry, just.
I can address a couple of those things too, that I'm not sure.
Yeah, so this is me right here.
So one thing we did when we were clearing and doing some of the dirt work, I think it's over kind of by your property line, we found an old clay field tile. And it was broke in tons of places. So we could see where water was kind of bubbling up from the ground, like where the tile was broke. So we chased that all the way back to to almost your fence line, the property line, dug it up, exposed it. It was about 3 feet deep. It was a 4 or 5 inch clay tile that was been there for years. We replaced it with a 6 inch new SDR pipe all the way, ran it through out and tied it into that culvert out towards Lackey Old City. When we were doing that, I think you had 2 downspout conductor lines. I don't know if you noticed, we ended up tying those into that 6 inch and got rid of those so they're not draining. So a lot of that surface water now should be carried with that field tile all the way out to that 36 inch culvert that crosses out by the ditch by Lackey Old City. So hopefully that will help. And I know the low point of that ditch, our basement grade is about 6 feet above that. So there shouldn't be an issue with, water like getting into the basement of this house. If you go out there and look now where that 6 inch field tile, or where we placed that 6 inch field tile, we left 2 stub ups. There's 2 white pipes still sticking out of the ground. That's our connection. So when we build the house, all the conductor lines for all the roof drainage will be tied into that 6 inch field tile. And once again, keep some of the surface water runoff from filling up that ravine, if you will. So we thought about a lot of that stuff as we were kind of getting in there and doing that. I think cleaning that ditch out, there was a ton of debris and logs, and, just branches. So we wanted to clean that whole ravine out, try to let the water flow more freely and get through there quicker, as opposed to standing and clogging up. So hopefully you'll notice an improvement by the time we're all done. I don't know if that helps or not.
No, I just wanted to voice my concern. Thank you. Okay, so we consider this, question number 1, the beneficial use of the property. I can see the desire to block the substation there. Whether the variance is substantial, we are talking about I would say a substantial change or variance, going much closer to the side yard setback, but when you go back to the first question and what they're trying to accomplish with screening out substation, and who that side yard shares with, it's the substation. It's not like there's a house right next to it that it's going to be much closer to, so I think in this situation, it's makes a good case for an area variance. I don't think it's affecting the neighborhood. Governmental services, not slowing that down. They have admitted they did zoning, but when they bought this property, that substation wasn't there. Whether it can be solved by some other manner, I think as I read some of the descriptions earlier of properties, you put a ravine into a property like this, they're also limited by terrain. And then that's probably what's really creating the side yard setback challenges. So I think they're still trying to maintain the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution. So considering all of those factors, I'll ask for a motion either for or against the applicant.
I make a motion to approve the application for BZA 25004.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Acevedo?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Cook?
No.
Mr. Maka?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton?
Yes. Thank you, and BZA applicant 25-004 is approved as submitted. Good luck with the zoning project. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, or I think that was the only one on the agenda, right?
Nothing else from the board here. Is there any other business we need to discuss?
Yes. We need to talk about scheduling a time for Tower Cove
Yeah.
after the 18th and before the 9th. Pardon, sorry, 9th of July.
Say that again?
Mr. Reinhardt spoke to me today, and we need to schedule a hearing for Tower Cove after the 18th of June and before the 9th of July. We don't have to schedule it right in the second, but we need to get some dates to kind of play with.
I'm not here the first week of July.
Okay.
You can do the week of the 23rd of June.
So sometime, I would not be available the 19th.
Okay. I'm also out of town.
I can do any night the week of the 23rd.
Okay.
What about the rest of the board?
Good for that.
What about the 25th, Wednesday?
Which day?
25th, that Wednesday, the 25th?
Yes, Wednesday, the 23rd.
Can do that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wednesday, the 25th?
I will let him know.
It'll be a 7 or 6 like the last one, or, you know,
I'm okay with either time.
I mean, 7 better.
It'll be a long one, right?
Yes,
It'll be
seven.
pretty long.
Yeah, he wanted me to, we can do 7, there's a good chance that the first, this is probably gonna multiple meetings, 2 or 3. There's a good chance that the first one's not real long, but the second and third one are long. Just some.
So we've got three.
No, we don't know for sure, but that'll be more than one.
Got it. For that date.
We'll go for 7.
Just one for that day.
Oh, just
It'll
one.
probably be
For that
tabled
day.
and continued.
Got it.
So they'll table it to another day and
Yeah.
maybe a third day.
Time certain, time and date certain.
Okay. 25th at 7 o'clock?
I'm gonna visit 7 PM, I will send out a confirm that. Lisa, that's all I have.
Any other business that we need to discuss? Just ask us to sign your minutes before you leave, and I'll call this meeting to an end. Thank you for coming tonight.
Any other ones?
Township
Encourage us.
No more doubt.
This is